So this video is going to be all about how to learn to push through fear and teach your children to do the same.
Bite it right now. No. Let me go. No.
Guys, remember I was going to film that episode on pushing past fear? Yeah. How would you say that you learned to push past fear? Cole, I want to know how you learned to push past fear.
Play video game.
I'm being serious. All right, Cole, tell me how you have learned to push past fear.
You know what I think of? I think of that when you went to Great River and you were Christopher Columbus for the history fair and you were really nervous and Mrs. Wolf said you couldn't use your cards because you knew your stuff and you pushed past fear and you did it. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Would you say that was a time where you learned to push past fear?
Yeah.
Kayla, tell me about a time where you learned to push past fear.
Yeah, Kayla. She did this to me already.
Remember at the history fair when you were Princess Diana?
Don't bring that up. That's something that she did. When I was doing a presentation.
What was the presentation about?
Science. We were learning about this rock thing, and then we had to learn about sediments and other stuff, and then we had to present what we had made on our poster, and yeah.
And what did you learn from that experience?
That I don't like presentations.
Yeah, but what is the nugget for dealing with fear that you learned?
Like, it seems like a lot before you do it, and then once you do it, you're like kind of scared and nervous, and then once you get it over with, you're glad.
Perfect.
So Mom, go torture Cole, please.
I did. Luke, what would you say you've learned on how to push past fear?
Dad's making dinner, no torture.
I'm making dinner, not torture.
Come on, Mom, let's go torture Cole.
My top advice always in learning to push through fear is learning to let go of the outcome, because for so many of us, we hold back from what we really want to do, what we really want to pursue and achieve, because we don't know whether or not it will work out. We don't know if we're going to get that end result that we seek. We don't know if our time and our effort and our energy that we put forth to pursue that thing is going to yield the result that we want it to. So we hold back, we don't pursue. We continue to calculate and overthink and talk ourselves out of it and come up with a million reasons why we shouldn't step out and do the thing we feel called and led to do. But the truth is, if you want to learn to become more fearless and push through fear, you have to learn to let go of the outcome, meaning your happiness is not tied to whether or not this thing works out. There's a meme that I love that says, we need to get rid of destination addiction, because if our happiness is always wrapped up in a destination, it will never be where we are. And I love that so much because I know I've wrestled with destination addiction, thinking once I graduate college, once I own my home instead of rent my home, once I have a better vehicle, once I am established in my career. There's a million different times in my life where I was tied to destination addiction. And what I've learned through the years in learning to really push past fear is that I have to learn to let go of the outcome and do it anyway. I have to be so sold out on the fact that the process of getting there, the journey of getting there, is going to be so rich in experience and wisdom and knowledge that it doesn't even matter if the end works out anyway, because I'm going to grow as a person. I'm going to get more confident. I will learn to conquer fear. I'll learn to conquer my inner critic, all those things. There are so many things that you will learn in the process that far outweigh whether or not that thing you want to do works out. And of course, we all want the things we pursue to, in the end, work out. But the bottom line is, if you can untie your happiness from that destination and just decide that the process is worth it, going through it is worth it, we will gain so much more from pursuing something that we feel called and led to do, that in the end is going to be so worth the money, the effort, the energy, all the stuff that we put into pursuing what we feel called and led to pursue. My number 2 advice, and I shared this on Instagram Reels several weeks ago, I said, when you're wanting to pursue something new or different or out of the box, or really step into fearlessness, you need to be prepared to let your flaws show and accept that you're going to be an amateur in the beginning, and you're going to need to let go of perfectionism in order to really move forward, because those things absolutely will hold you back. I wrote a book last year, and it was my first book. It is very close to being ready and live and available for sale. But I can look through that book and even see ways that I could have improved, things I could have worded better, things I could have done better. But if I constantly keep going back to the drawing drawing board and never put anything out there, I'm never gonna learn to perfect the craft of writing the way that I want to. There's something to be said for following through and finishing something, even if it isn't as glamorous and perfect as you want it to be. There's something to be said for not just the product that you produce, but the strength and the courage that you built in order to actually put it out there in the world. Because that excellence that you seek, that, grade A level work that you seek to put out there is gonna come through not just the process of putting out the B level work, but the courage to do it anyway, even though it's not perfect. And my book that I'm putting out there, it's not Max Lucado, it's not Stephen King, it's not on the level of all these amazing writers, but it's my heart, my first book, and I hope to write more in the future that I believe will be better and better the more I learn to push past fear and put it out there. My third piece of advice for how you learn to push through fear is accepting that even if your very worst fear came true, you would survive. That was huge for me. And that was like letting a bird out of a cage. That was complete freedom for me to decide for myself that even if the worst of the worst of the worst happened, I would find a way to survive. And I feel like that's such a huge part of learning to become fearless and pushing through fear is deciding for yourself that no matter what happens, you will find a way to survive and thrive. So Kalia, tell me about a time where you pushed past fear.
The time that I passed fear was when I was young and I was laying in my parents' room because I was little, obviously. And then I was scared of the closet because there was one door that had a door and then the other one didn't. So I thought there was going to be a big monster coming out of it. And then one night I was going to go get up and get water or go to the bathroom. And then after that, I went in the closet and I went like this, because I knew that I was scared at the time, but I knew that I could go do what I wanted to do, and then I ran out.
So you conquered your fear and you felt like you weren't in fear of the closet anymore?
Yeah.
And so the last thing I would say about learning to push through fear, especially as it relates to our children, is that our children watch what we model for them. So the more and more that we can model what it looks like to be fearless or move through fear or do things even when we're scared, we are setting our children up for their floor to be our ceiling. So if we can conquer things, if we can conquer that feeling of fearfulness and doing hard things, doing things when we're scared, starting messy, being imperfect, if we can do things even when we don't have all of the answers, that we don't know the end result, if we can start messy, be perfectly imperfect, and choose the journey over the destination, then that's what our kids will do when they get older and they have something in front of them and they don't know whether or not they have the courage to push through. And granted, we're not going to be perfect at it. It's not about being perfect. It's about doing what you can with what you have, with what's within your grasp. So don't beat yourself up if these are things that you haven't done with your children up to this point. Start now. It is not too late. Even if you have adult children, it is not too late. You can still be an inspiration to your children by the things that you choose and the decisions that you make and the way that you choose to show up messy and be brave, be courageous, and be perfectly imperfect and just let go of the outcome and do it anyway. So if there's something that you've been scared to do because you don't feel like you have the skill set, the background, the experience, the knowledge, all those things can be improved upon, but they're not a reason why you can't walk out in the way that you feel called and led to. But like I always go back to, the process, the experience, the wisdom that you're going to gain when you choose to go forward with what you feel called and led to do, the business, the nonprofit, writing the book, putting out your creativity to the world, switching industries, moving geographical locations, whatever you feel afraid that you can't do, know that whether or not in the end it works out or unfolds the way that you think that it should or want it to, everything you gain in the process is going to be worth it in the end. Even if there's some pain along the way, even if there's challenges, even if you get some bumps and scrapes along the way. Life isn't a guarantee, but we're just doing the best with what we have, with what's within our grasp. And for me, I'm hanging on to my faith. It's a core part of who I am. And I choose to believe that God lays dreams on our heart for a reason and gives us inspiration to walk out ideas. You might not have the step-by-step manual, but you have enough to get you started.